Welcome everyone that's joining. If you don't mind answering the poll, it should be popped up on your screen. That would be awesome. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes for everyone to join and then we'll get started. Perfect. So welcome everyone that has just joined, wherever you are in the world today. There is a few polls that are popping up on your screen. I would really appreciate it if you could answer them for us as well. So welcome to the 8th edition in our live Women in DevOps webinar series. Today, I'm super excited to be debuting our first webinar in Germany as well, focusing on the tech hub of Berlin. It's actually estimated that a new tech startup is founded every 20 minutes in Berlin, but according to the Financial Times in 2018, over 90% of tech investment in Europe went to fully male teams. So diversity, inclusion, and belonging is an extremely important topic. And today I'm joined by some amazing human beings from Berlin's talent, people, culture, and engineering spaces from a number of different industries, and we'll be discussing different methods, mindsets, and measures to ensure that our workplaces are truly diverse, inclusive, and equitable, and thus drive innovation. If you don't know who I am, my name is Antonia Otter. I'm our European Ambassador for Women in DevOps, and I'm scaling out our European community. Tonight's webinar is called Shifting Mindsets, Attracting Talent, and a Culture of Integrity, and it will last around 50 minutes with 10 minutes Q&A after. So please sit back, pop any questions you may have in the comment box. We have dedicated time at the end to answer them, or we can answer them throughout as well. And then after that, if you want to continue the conversation, we'll have 30 minutes of networking for those that wish to join us. So before we start, I'd like to welcome Ari from our platinum sponsors, Jfrog. Over to you, Ari.
Thank you so much, Antonia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Go for it.
Let's see here. Always the most tense part of this.
No pressure.
Well, I hope everybody can see my screen. Hi, everybody. I'm Ari Waller, and I am the Meetup event manager for Jfrog. And we are really just have been so excited about our partnership with Women in DevOps in 2020. It's been really, really valuable to us. And just working with the whole leadership team and just meeting everyone in the community has just been awesome. And I just want to thank you for embracing us as well. I'm assuming that many of you may have heard of Jfrog, but that's always a bad assumption. So I'll just share a little bit about us. Jfrog, we are a DevOps software company based in the Silicon Valley, and we were founded in 2008. We are known by many across the globe by our flagship product, Artifactory, which is the world's leading binary repository. Today, we have grown quite a bit. We have over 600 employees, 10 offices globally, and more than 3 million developers use our software on a daily basis. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Jfrog is that we actually now have a free cloud-based subscription access to our world-class DevOps platform, especially for the community to try out for some of the projects you're working on. Maybe there's some people that are new to DevOps as a whole and you want to see what this is all about. Well, this is a perfect time to do that. There's also no credit card required, and I'm just really excited to show you that. And this includes Artifactory, which I mentioned before, as well as built-in vulnerability scanning. We also have, and I'm going to drop this in the comments with. There'll be a few links. I'm sorry for all the links, but everything's free. And that is, we have some DevOps 101 level courses and workshops that are coming up next week. One in the Americas time zone and one in the European time zone, which would, but whatever you'd like to choose, whatever's most convenient for you. So I'll drop those if you're interested in having some great workshops and hands-on experience with the DevOps beginner items. But what's even more exciting than all that, not as exciting as our panel though, but just on the edge of it, is that Jfrog is going to be has a raffle tonight for a GoPro Hero that somebody from our attendees today is going to have the opportunity to win. Now you see the QR code, so please go ahead and scan that, and you see a Bitly link there too if you prefer to do that, and I'll drop that in the chat. But we are going to select a winner within 2 business days, and then we're going to share it with the entire community. You're just again, really excited to be doing that as well. But looking forward to hearing from our panelists today. It's going to be a great topic. And Antonia, I'm going to turn it right back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ari. And yeah, good luck, everyone. I really want to win that. So let's see. But no, thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If it is your first time joining our Women in DevOps community, I'll give you a little bit of insight to who we are and what we do. So we are an empowerment platform and a networking initiative devoted to empowering underrepresented groups within the DevOps industry and wider tech and engineering space. We're improving diversity, disparity, and the gender imbalance and striving to promote equality within technology. So we host a variety of meaningful and empowering webinars, events, and workshops, acknowledging that even though the DevOps and wider tech industry is progressive, there is still more work to be done to achieve a truly diverse workforce. So our unique platform has become a global movement, and it's not used to only amplify the voices of women, but the whole DevOps and tech community to break down barriers and drive positive change throughout the tech world. That is definitely enough from me now. It's over to the panel. Again, thank you so much for being here. And if you please introduce yourself, Jonathan, if you're happy to start, please go ahead.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jonathan, and I work as a people lead at Signavio. Most people haven't heard about that role. It's pretty much like an engineering manager with a focus exclusively on people. So we do not talk about system architecture, system design. We talk about career path, progression plans, the harmony within the team, diversity practices, inclusiveness, and all this analysis related to people. And this is definitely one of the things that I'm passionate about, particularly the concept of intersectionality, right? So how we do have this power imbalance between men and women in the workplace, but also how we also see this imbalance within white women and Black women, for example, or other kind of axis. I was born and raised in Brazil, had the chance of living a little bit in the US, moved to Israel, and then came to Berlin, which is definitely where I want to stay because I really love it here. So once again, thank you for having me. I think that's enough for now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and super excited to have you on board. Rose, you next, please.
Hi, everyone. And first, Antonia, also thank you for inviting me to this panel. My name is Rose. I come from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, moved to Berlin 4.5 years ago to join a very small startup, Solaris Bank, and was the first in the people department to grow the team to 250 people in 2.5 years. And I think that got me really excited about all the tech startups and hyper growth that is around there. So I have my fair share of education tech, health tech, back to fintech, in freelancing, because I wanted to taste all of it. But I'm really a people person and a team person, and learned after 1.5 years that I wanted to be part of a team for long term. And so I joined the Bitwala team for the reason that I sensed there was a huge employee-centric mindset that I share. I lead the people and culture department, which is really focused on people, from employees, team members to mid-management, but also C-level, and also really focused on culture, because culture is a very big aspect of who we are and what we want to continue to strive. I can say as well, I think I have a very strong employee mindset, and I'm really striving to build a people platform rather than being a support function on the side, where HR is this scary function. Instead, I would like to be the one close to the people and working with the people instead of doing things to the people. And yeah, it has been a really interesting journey at Bitwala until now. It has been really rewarding. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I'm super excited for all the value that you're going to add tonight. So thank you. Matthias, you're up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthias. Thank you for being on the panel as well. I'm at the moment Director of Talent Acquisition at Scout24. And what you need to know about the position is more of, who is, helping to lead the talent acquisition team, the recruiting team, as well as how do you create concepts, methods, programs to really support certain initiatives, employer branding, data initiative, D&I. So that's what I do at my current job, and really driving the change from a reactive, more administrative to a more strategic and proactive function. So that is something that we see key at Scout24 at the moment. And what I've been doing beforehand was literally like, I have been in Berlin the whole time in different tech organizations, and also big players, but also very small setups. And so I can share a lot of my experience on that as well. Thank you.
Amazing. No, you're going to add tons of value as well. So thank you so much for that. Really excited. And then Marina.
Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for having me here tonight. I'm Marina, originally from Serbia, currently living in Berlin. I'm working for Colibri Games, which is, well, as of this year, part of Ubisoft Group. So we are a gaming company. We make mobile games. And yeah, for me, I've been a gamer since, I was very little. I started my career off in Malta in technical recruitment for IT and iGaming startups. And I pretty much sort of made this move into another gaming company. And I really do feel like, I am a representative of the gaming companies here today. And I'd really love to, explore topics that I think transcend industries in general when it comes to D&I. And I think that we all have a lot to offer as representatives of our industries here today. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation tonight.
No, I totally agree with you as well. And I'm excited to see the different ideas that are coming from different industries as well. Unfortunately, Jessie Hallison from Ecosia is ill and she can't make it tonight. So really gutted, but Jessie, we're wishing you a healthy and quick recovery as well. And we'll see you there next time. So thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. That was awesome. And I guess let's begin. So there's been an interesting study from the BMO Global Asset Management organization last year, and they claimed that in Germany, when it comes to diversity and diversity management measures, many organizations tend to focus too narrowly on gender inequality in the workplace. Marina, I know that you wanted to speak about why it's really important that we don't just look at gender when we're looking at diversity.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I missed to say is that I'm leading the recruiting department at Colibri Games, and one of these things that often comes up, especially in hiring, is this need, to have more women in the pipeline and to sort of focus on gender diversity by default. And I think that diversity has become quite a buzzword recently, and usually for many people, that's the first thing that comes to mind, maybe also racial diversity nowadays. But I think one thing that's really important to acknowledge is that these two dimensions of diversity, let's call them that way, actually stem from a much bigger problem, which is the problem of social justice. And when we actually talk about diversity, inclusion, belonging, representation in companies, we are not talking about social injustice. So effectively, we cannot solve diversity in companies by isolating it only to one sphere of diversity, or only focusing on one aspect of someone's identity. So diversity in our context, when it comes to building more diverse environments at work, is about building cultures that are more effective, that are more innovative and more creative. And on the other hand, actually preventing the creation of something that we call monoculture, right? Which is this culture of sameness, where same ideas are being propagated and where we have one homogeneous group of people. And that's exactly effectively what happens when we hire only one sort of talent, right? So we focus on only one particular aspect of, in this case, diversity, and what we get in return is actually this culture that is not in its own a culture that can drive the company forward. Yeah, therefore we need to, in my opinion, focus on cognitive diversity, which is the diversity of that encompasses gender, race, nationality, sexual orientation, neurodiversity, disability. All of these aspects of diversity that in a very organic and obvious way enhance our success and our capability to build really something awesome. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I know that's for sure the case for gaming, and I believe that's the case for other industries. What we want to do is we want to appeal to diverse consumer groups, and we want to cater for diverse markets, not only in the way that we currently work and in the customers that we currently serve, but also when it comes to the type of customers that we want to attract. And for this to happen, for companies to be able to do that, we need to have people internally who can actually be the representatives of the lives that the customers are living, right? And then they can design processes around these metrics. And so in a nutshell, this is why we should aim for diversity in its fullest and widest form, instead of just focusing on gender or just one aspect of diversity.
May I add to that then? I think first of all, like, I fully agree with everything that you said. It's amazing. I'm so happy to hear this approach among us, and it's one point that many people that I've seen in the past get it wrong, like an approach of like, oh, we're doing a favor, let's help people that are in need, or actually the business is being helped by bringing people that will eventually display great performance, that will bring revenue, that will cater to a lot of the audience. So it is definitely a win-win situation. And this is one of the mindsets that we really need to have to propagate. That's not about helping, aiding, or supporting, although that's also a consequence, and it's a positive consequence due to some injustice that we have in society. This is actually beneficial for the company itself and for the business itself.
Perfect. No, I agree as well. It's really important as well. There's something that someone on this panel has implemented, which I think is really awesome, because whilst I agree, it's definitely not just about gender diversity. As women and as men, we do have a biological difference and cultural, mental differences as well. So, Rose, if you would take it from here and give us some insight to what you've done with Bitwala.
Yeah, of course. And I think if you just take a step back, to understand diversity, you have to understand the people that work at your company, and to understand the different groups within your diverse set of your whole team, and also who do you actually want to attract more within your diverse set of team. So the first 1.5 months when I started at Bitwala, I just started to do my research, getting to know all the people, doing surveys, deep dive conversations, also talk a lot with the management. What do they seek? What are their business goals? How can we align that in terms of diversity? And while getting to know the company, I also figured that a good area or a data source was Slack channel, the Bitwala Woman channel. And each month I received a lot of messages there where women were struggling from PMS symptoms, or just period cramps, and said, I don't feel productive or present. I feel hard to be part of the meetings. I'm just struggling today. Maybe I should take a sick leave. And while I was reading that, it really got me thinking, why is the period of a woman such a taboo in this workplace? Why do we ignore the fact that almost 40% of all women struggle with symptoms? And so I started to do my research and figured out that not a lot of companies foster a climate where this biological difference is acknowledged, because basically nobody's speaking about it. However, I was quite lucky to find a lot of data in Asia and Australia, as there it's already a little bit more common because women fought really hard for it. Even governments now acknowledge it, that there is this biological difference. And I was looking at the data, and it was just very interesting to see that a lot of women from all these research-based mentioned that they felt they had to go to work each month while struggling because of presentism, and would sit there for 1 or 2 days struggling, but also seeing what the effect would be from a period leave, even if you implement 3 days per year, how productivity went up, how motivation went up because people felt accepted. And so I proposed this to the management because we are working on a new work policy, and part of that is also being mindful of the different groups we have. And so I wanted to establish period leave, a budget of 10 days, which is, instead of a sick leave, you take a period leave. And the only question that I got from my management was, do women actually feel safe to take it? Will they actually do it? Will they not feel that if they would take it, we will have a look at that? And I said, the only way we can do it is making sure that this is a safe place. So when we presented this to the whole company, it was a real clear message that this was not discriminating towards men, and definitely also not to make women look weaker, but just to accept the biological differences. And I got really good feedback also from men, which I really appreciated, from the team, who said, my ex-girlfriend was really struggling with PMS symptoms, and how much would she love if there was a place where this was acknowledged and where she could maybe take a day to really foster what she needed. And we implemented this in September, and what I can see from the numbers is that not even 40% of our women is taking it, and also not every month the same women are taking it, and it doesn't even matter. The fact is that we should establish we have to foster the certain things for different diversity groups that should just be there. Even if they don't want to use it, it should just be there. So we're definitely now on a full mission to foster more than these initiatives, and we already did, to support different groups at Bitwala, and we just keep on doing that. And so I'm really proud that also my management is seeing that diversity is important, and one of the items was, for example, this part.
No, I when you first told me about that as well, I thought it was such an amazing initiative and so important. So the folks at Bitwala are very lucky to have that implemented, and hopefully we'll see that going further as well. So next, something that I'd like to ask the entire panel, really, being that every company has a different process as well, and with still lots to be learned for everyone involved, and no one can say they've got it right as well, but it's very interesting to discuss. And it's how you enable diversity within your recruitment process and how you go about that. So Matthias, if you don't mind starting us off here, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think the panel already got it right. I think, it's about, creating a fair chance for everyone. Yeah, it's we sometimes get misleaded by current events or trends that we focus one or the other a bit more or less. But I think in the end of the day, even with what Ross just explained, you want to create a place, an environment where everybody feels safe and comfortable. And that is exactly what leads me to recruiting, right? Because in the end of the day, what we have seen, processes are unfair. Yeah, processes are very biased, and how do you work with that? So I think what we have seen is at Scout that we started really providing, first of all, trainings. Yeah, trainings to people, anti-discrimination trainings, unconscious bias trainings. And I'm not saying we are fixing the recruiting problem by that, but I'm just saying we create a certain vibe around people to start thinking about what biases really are in some areas. That is something new, and some people are really aware of that. But still, if they are aware of this, how do they tackle this? How do they make sure that they make better decisions in the future? And I think with that, with the trainings, we started an impulse, and then really looked into recruiting, for example, setting up hiring committees. Yeah, so hiring committees is something that Google drives a lot, and you see this a very well proven concept in tech companies these days. And what it really means is you kind of take the decision away from hiring managers and really help to the company to hire for cultural add. I think this was mentioned already in some of those comments so far from the panel, that we really want to add something to the culture And of course, then you have this argumentation in recruiting. That's a very common thing of what is culture fit versus culture add, and where's the difference, and etc. But I don't want to get into this. I just say, there are lots of things that you can do to, from a structural and systematic approach, can make sure to avoid unbiases, or even if the biases happen, you cannot detect them. One last thing that I would like to mention is also what helped really is not just unconscious bias trainings or anti-discrimination trainings, but really also interview trainings, right? It's easy things like that, or even scorecard trainings. How do you write a good scorecard? How do you create a criteria set that really is aligned throughout the organization and not just happens in recruiting, but all the employee life cycle that you have? And then last but not least, how do you make, and this is so much about feeling comfortable in a recruiting process, creating a diverse interview panel. This is all easy said, but hard to do sometimes because you lack in some areas maybe on diverse talents. And then how do you make them feel comfortable in those situations and maybe don't stress them too much, but at the same time help them to, add value and hire more diverse talents so that the whole organization and culture gets more diverse, right? So these are a couple of things that we did, and I'm more than happy to explain more.
No, perfect as well. I would love to hear a little bit more later about that as well, perhaps when we go out into the breakout rooms. So I know that we've spoken about the unconscious bias and implicit bias that you grow up with, and you don't even realize that these biases are around you, and it's teaching people just about the awareness, really. And it's nobody's fault that these biases are there. It's just being a product of your environment, and that's when we have different backgrounds, different mindsets, and different cultures, which is amazing. And then it comes with the other bit on the side as well. So thank you so much for that, Matthias. Loved it. Jonathan, are you happy to answer this question as well? It'll be interesting seeing your view as like engineering people manager as well.
Yeah, we definitely have made some changes. And I mean, first of all, it's a pleasure to work with a talent acquisition team that's very aware of the need of this. So, there's no friction. We're very much aligned. That makes it that much easier. And I don't know, one highlight or one example that I can quote, actual recent example. So now I was working on a job description for that engineer position. And as I am the hiring manager, I decided to add a bit of a text there. Look, just mentioning, look, if you do not match all the requirements, do not worry, apply anyway, because we are aware that, men usually only try to match like 60% of the requirements, and not men, let's say, try to match 100% before applying. So I proceeded with that as a suggestion. Other people leads picked up on that. And our VPs liked it. Eventually this was pushed forward, and now this became just a standard text that's put in all our job descriptions, letting people know across the entire company that, look, even if you don't match all the requirements, you're welcome to apply, right? And I see two outcomes of that. One of them is like more people applying because of that, and we already received positive feedback, but it also triggered a conversation with other hiring managers. Hey, look, this is actually true. We should be looking more for potential as opposed to like where you should fit into this box. So this is one of the ways that we're becoming more diverse also.
It's really good to hear as well, the positive impact just that small piece of text has had on your pipeline already. So that's amazing. Rose, you're up.
It's really interesting. I'm really like writing while you're all like speaking, so it's really a good panel to be on. Yeah, how do you enable diversity? How do we enable it? Well, first off, I think you can never do it perfectly. There's always something to do better. But we started to do an audit of our recruitment efforts. Where did we do well? Where can we be improving? And what was very clear is that we're very good in attracting and hiring a very diverse set of cultures. And I think that also has to do with someone in our team who is an amazing support on onboarding and visa, who feels it's like just the easiest as ever, and everyone feels very supported by it. And so I think that already starts with it. Obviously, what is a hurdle, and I think it's a very known item. I mean, women in DevOps, women in tech. We also have to improve our numbers in tech. I mean, And so therefore we also have to set a metric to really make sure that we focus on it. So we set a metric for the next half year for 10%. On the business side, we actually are doing really good on the women. And so we're really looking there to tackle more diverse groups. But also I've been looking into the job titles and descriptions, making it less masculine. If men hiring managers are creating it, you often see you have to be ambitious. Some of the wording is draws a lot of men, but maybe some women feel less secure about it. And so we try to change it to make it a bit more approachable. And also changing behind the job title, you have normally the MWX, and we started with WMX, we started with women. Why not? Why are we always starting with men? We actually could also start with X, obviously. Lastly, also, or not lastly, but during our evaluation round, we often ask ourselves, and what I normally pull into the evaluation round is the question, why is this person the right person for this role? And are we possibly biased in our opinion? And if not, then tell me why not. Because if you are able to argue against that, then I know we make the right decision, because our arguments are storing for what we feel. And we can also discuss it if we feel that an argument is not strong enough. And so it was very interesting when we wanted to make an offer to a woman, and for the guys, we always wanted to offer them a head off, and all of a sudden we said, maybe she's not ready, maybe she should start as a team lead. But then also it was really interesting, our CPO, she said, I think I might be biased. For a man, we almost trust like they can do it anyway, but for a woman, as a woman myself, I might be tougher on her. So it was a really interesting conversation to have. Well, obviously we can do way better, and I think she's even here today. We will get a new senior TA manager joining us in January, and she's very much involved in diversity, inclusion, and all these different topics. So I really, really look forward to work with her and to dive deeper on these topics and to see what can we do, not just women in tech, but also women in crypto, because that's even a harder topic lately. And so that will be a huge challenge, but also I think a huge opportunity to tackle in the coming year. And I look very much forward to it, to be honest.
No, thank you for the insight. It is a hard topic, and I don't think anyone has it right as well. I don't think any of us have the complete answers. We're all always learning, and I think being open-minded, owning where there's still way to go as well as how we've got to be about it, and being part of these discussions as well, where we can learn from each other is a good way to start, isn't it? So Marina as well, I would love to hear from you. You've mentioned as well you're part of the gaming industry. I think we all know that it is quite unbalanced as well. How are you enabling diversity recruitment in your pipeline? How is it looking for you?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, yeah, awesome thoughts from the three folks before me. And we also currently do and try to implement quite a number of different initiatives that we heard of previously. So I'm not going to go into that. And I'm actually on that note really glad to hear that we have certain areas of overlapping, because this just means that we can, as HR people, support each other a little bit more and, help each other when it comes to making a business case with the C-level, with our founders, with our main stakeholders, because I think that we've all been in this situation where, we want to pitch, especially a D&I related topic, and it just somehow never gets to be the top priority. And I think that Corona definitely didn't help with that. So yeah, I'm going to tell you about maybe two things that we do that I don't think we've heard so far that have really helped us a lot. So first of all, a little bit of a background, exactly like you said, Antonia, gaming has, it's particularly interesting when it comes to this, because, for decades now we have this stereotype of what gamers are, which is, being portrayed as men, and then developing games, like thousands of games over decades that mostly feature masculine teams and male protagonists, and we ended up with a male-dominated industry. Surprise, surprise. But what's even more problematic is that we have this culture sometimes where women just don't feel really comfortable being part of. And it's not necessarily because it's so male-dominated, but it's also because, to a certain extent, that women cannot really see themselves in the games that are being made and that are being played. So in a way, it's kind of like wanting to attract more women and hire for diversity, but without thinking much more ahead and thinking about how we can actually include these women in the company and make them feel the belonging a little bit more. So for us, when it comes to hiring, what my team and I focus on is, first of all, we decided to this year completely revamp our approach to hiring when it comes to how we use data. So we worked with our awesome web developer, Jenny, who actually helped us build these super nice dashboards in Google Data Studio, where we could, after we redesigned the careers page completely, we made it much more diversity centric. We debiased the job description language. We used a bunch of AI tools to help us with that. And then we wanted to observe, okay, looking at our data historically, how many women actually visit the website now versus how many women visited the website 3 months ago? And then fast forward, moving to today, where are we in terms of generating more content from the moment we started this initiative? Like, were we really very excited about this at once? And then at a certain point, we just felt like, okay, now we've done the work, kind of a thing. Now women are just going to organically flock to the website. So it reminded us actually that this needs to be an ongoing initiative. This actually needs to become a new way of working, sort of a thing. So this is something that really helps us now sort of stay on point when it comes to employer branding, what we do with the website and the careers page, and how we pitch ourselves to, well, at least in this case, male-female ratio. And then the second thing is when we analyzed our candidate journey, we defined touch points where we could make improvements in terms of D&I. And we actually realized that, you know, if we just sit and wait for diverse talent to come and apply just because we revamped the careers page and we just, you know, made it more more diversity centric, then we are effectively pitting these people, diverse people, against the odds, because statistically, they do not have a high chance of making it to the end of the hiring process. Just statistically, putting aside the bias, putting aside, you know, non-standardized interviewing processes, it's just not going to happen. So what we decided to do is we kicked off diversity sourcing, and our basic idea was we need to bring diverse people into the pipeline in order to increase our chances as many times as possible to actually hire diverse talent, or like Jonathan mentioned at the very beginning, even better so, intersectionally diverse talent. So now when we open a new position, when we start doing sourcing, we basically define the sourcing metrics, and we say, you know, for every white man, we're going to reach out to at least one woman, or we're going to reach out to at least one person of color. And then we're going to look at our response rates, and we're going to look at what we could be improving after the initial outreach. And then we're going to redefine the message that we send out to people and compare that to the initial results. And this has really, for us, significantly improved the amount of diverse candidates that we have at end stages, and also when it comes to hiring new people since we kicked it off.
That's really cool to hear about, actually, as well. So I know I've had conversations with all of you as well about just relying on the pipeline and relying on your direct applicants, and the amount of underrepresented groups or diverse members just coming into that pipeline is never very much, whatever you do. And doing the gender bias on job advertisements is amazing as well, but it is all about the direct sourcing and making these groups aware of your company and what you're doing and why you want them there. So it's really interesting to hear about that as well. So thank you for that insight, Marina. I don't know if anyone has anything else on the panel that they want to add here. Go ahead.
You know, it might be a bit of cruelty from my side, but I'm actually enjoying doing this, which is, you know, how some agencies can be quite insistent on trying to work with the company. They keep pushing and, look, we have this and that candidate, we want to work with you. And, you know, this is just a need of our business right now. We basically have a standard message. This is basically, you know, I would like to know what's your strategy for diversity and inclusiveness, how diverse is the talent pool that you want to provide to us, and how diverse is actually your own company, right? And if you have that data, if you have an actual strategy that's not like, oh, we care about diversity, you know, then we can schedule the follow-up meeting, right? So that's an excellent filter to get rid of agencies that are not really, and yeah, I shouldn't be like that, but I'm having a bit of fun with that. That's it.
I really like this. I think this is extremely smart, because it also set, again, direction to the direction that you're setting in the strategy, and you often forget to align with that. And the other thing you can do is just saying, hey, you got my email, GDPR, I didn't gave it to you. Please remove me from my list. That also works.
No recruiter bashing everyone. Come on.
Oh, no, we're filtering for the good ones like you know?
No, but I completely agree. And actually, Jessie was going to answer that question as well, is when you're looking to expand your business and there are so many external agencies out there, what are the questions that you need to ask them to make sure that they are aligned with your growth and they aren't just virtue signaling as well and are aligned with your plan? So unfortunately, she's not here, but it's very important as well. I can imagine all of you have lots of messages all the time, so it's a very good thing to mention as well. So something else as well, I know that me and you, Matthias, we've spoken about as well, is it having everyone in an organization. So having your hiring managers be on board and embracing inclusive cultures. What faces have you had, Matthias, when you've been trying to master D&I targets when it comes to recruitment?
Yeah, I think it's a great point here to say that sometimes you set yourself targets and then it feels like the D&I manager needs to solve, diversity for the whole organization, or the talent acquisition team needs to diversify the company because of those targets. So I think what I always say is that hiring is always a team sport, which means that there's always the business and the talent acquisition team. There's always hiring managers and the recruiter who drive that. And I think what we have seen in the beginning, that we set ourselves some goals and then realized, okay, maybe should we have done it differently? And also the business would commit on some diversity targets for their own. We work with an OKR system here, which is really effective, I think, and which helps to align and streamline efforts. But this is something that, was maybe missing in the beginning. And once we did it, I think it really helped us to move the needle a bit. So I just came out of a conversation with my VP of engineering, and he said, for my roles that I have, 50% of those roles need to be women because we have an imbalance there. And we just measured it was just for a short period of time, but we measured to succeed already with it. And so because we introduced those hiring committees and made those decisions based on, what was discussed earlier in this panel, to say, a woman maybe is not be assessed as ready yet, or maybe she needs some growth, where a man at the same seniority level is judged differently. And I think this is just for the sake of us being human beings, and don't have that in mind. But if you have a central approach here, you can detect such things. So this is something that really helped us. But also what is already mentioned, I think, from Ross, was really interesting: employee resource groups, right? So when I started in Scout, we had a huge diversity group already organized in Slack channels. So a lot of passionate people who really want to drive the topic further. And also I can be very lucky to have my own D&I counterpart as well. So someone who really also drives certain topics from a more a holistic approach in the organization. So a lot of great partners to introduce, work with, and drive your projects. I think this is super, super important. And last but not least, to say the least, I always wanted to be included in the D&I topics in the very beginning, right? So to make the talent acquisition team the forefront of change here, and to be the forefront of the diversity initiative is super, super important. Yeah. And of course, then people ask, why are you the gatekeeper of diversity? Why are you unbiased and I'm biased? So this is a little bit unfair, right? But I think in the end of the day, what we just wanted to say here, we want to take a central role in helping to shape the culture that we're aiming and driving for. And I think this is something which we try to, position ourselves in the company.
Thank you. It's really interesting to hear as well, and it's good to hear that the hiring managers are on board as well, and it's coming from everywhere. So that's really awesome to hear. And I guess as well, something we speak about a lot in organizations. I speak to lots of organizations every day, and they say, our diversity is not where it needs to be at all. We're not there yet. And then some people say, that wasn't our intention. They can perhaps become a little bit defensive about this as well. So Jonathan, I know you wanted to speak about this as well, and what is the answer to people who say it wasn't our intention that we're here now?
I think it's a very common, let's say, very natural human reaction to become defensive, right? But the point is really not about the person, and it's not to center that person, a manager, a VP, a C-level, whoever the person is. This I learned from a presenter and coder called Tatiana Mack. And she basically, it's a phrase that I don't know even if the authorship is hers, but basically summarized it very well, which is basically impacts trumps intention, right? It doesn't matter what your intention was, and it's very hard for us to discuss what was the original intent of anyone. You have to be inside of their head, but regardless of the intention, the impact is there, right? I know I will, during the course of this conversation, have a few positive examples from Signavio. So I will also like to be able to openly discuss issues that we have and acknowledge our shortcomings. So for example, at the Berlin office, we didn't have a single wheelchair accessible bathroom, right? So we were effectively excluding some people. So everyone likes to say they're looking for the best talent. And I was, provoking people at Signavio, say we're looking for the best talent as long as they don't use a wheelchair, right? And I really doubt that anyone on our higher management decided one day like, oh, we don't want people with disabilities here. It wasn't their intention, but regardless of their intention, the impact was there. Right? So we need to discuss the impact. We need to have measures to counter the impact and never center the conversation on the person. It's not about their feelings. It's not about their intentions. It's about the impact, and particularly in marginalized communities.
It's very interesting when you think about that as well, because I think about that as well, and I think to offices as well, and not being like wheelchair accessible. And when you're not in that situation, I guess it's not something that comes at the forefront of your mind. But when you are a champion for diversity, you need to make sure it's accessible for everyone.
Yeah, my let's say, when I was discussing this with the C-level, I said, look, imagine if there was a representation, if one of the founders needed a wheelchair, how long would we go without a wheelchair accessible bathroom?
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to think about as well. Thank you. Does anyone else have anyone they want to add to the intention and impact piece?
I think, yeah, I'll just chime in here real quickly. I also hear oftentimes companies, trying to do it perfect right from the start. I just feel like there's this sense around that we should just do it perfectly right from the beginning or not do it at all. And I feel like that's really such a dangerous field to be in and operate in and work in, because diversity and inclusion as a field has been acknowledged, and its importance has been acknowledged so recently. And I think that, especially we cannot put all the responsibility onto the D&I people internally, mostly because many companies don't even need them. But somebody mentioned earlier that we all need to be these champions. Like we all need to be the role models. We all need to create this sense of belonging and inclusion internally for us, ourselves, and the people around us. So you don't need to do it right. You don't need to do it perfect. And it doesn't matter if you do it wrong, or like Jonathan said, that's not your intention. It's what you do afterwards, after you've been humble enough to acknowledge that you have room for growth and ask for help and are willing and open to change, that matters.
I agree.
And I really like what you say. And I think it's the intention of being open and willing to learn, even if that takes years of practice. And I think Black Lives Matters really proved to me, for example, this topic is so complex for me that I'm still learning and growing each day. And I really try to have different conversations with different people around it. And I'm still not there. And of course, I will never understand completely how they feel. But as long as you're open and you keep the channel open to talk about it, I think you're already coming a very far way. And the same is for every person in your company, to always say, channel is open. If you would like to speak in private or at a company, at the company-wide event, then go for it. And yeah, I can really connect to what you just said.
I agree as well. And I think being open about it and just owning it is the best way to be here. And very lucky that I'm joined by you folks, all very open-minded as well, and completely honest and transparent and raw. So thank you very much. I am conscious of time. I do know we have a few more questions, but I think that let's move to Q&A, because I can see the comment box has a few questions in there, and we've also got a Q&A on screen as well. In terms of the questions in the comment box, are there any questions that anyone wants to answer specifically, who they think they can add value?
I would love to answer the one from Liam Barnett. He said, do you think that the idea of a culture fit in a company can be a little counterproductive when it comes to hiring for diverse teams? Yes, it actually is. Because you hire for your culture, which you establish, so everyone should connect to it. So that's one way to look at it. But at the same time, it's very dangerous. And I figured this out through the recruitment audit that I did, where one of the questions to be asked, which a lot of hiring managers think this is a good question, the beer test. Can I drink a beer with this person, yes or no? I hate this question because it already proves that diverse people will not make it to the last stage. And I said, the moment I read it, I got so angry. I said, we have to remove this one right now, right here. We're never going to do this again. I was very passionate about it. And I think they were a little bit in awe from what just happened. And I explained to them, the moment you find someone where you can connect well with on the first place, it means that most likely they have a lot in common with you. But with diverse people, you're getting to learn new people. You might have different sets of things in common where you weren't aware of just yet. And by doing that beer test, you could never figure that out. And it would harm the team because then 5 people would be from the same background, same mindset, same intention. And so the results that it produces is basically zero. What about innovation? If everyone says, oh yes, this is great because we're all thinking the same way. So yeah, it is actually counterproductive, and it's a really interesting question to look at. How do we hire for cultural fit while not being biased on the person we might like or think that is also, let's say in our terms, a Bedouinian? So yeah.
So may I? Okay, so what we do at Signavio, it's one step that we recently renamed. I personally push for this renaming, which is, we call it the value fit, right? We want to know, when we want to bring in people, for example, that are open to feedback, that feel comfortable acknowledging mistakes, that will not build a blaming culture, and items like that. So we have certain values, and that foster collaboration, foster teamwork, as opposed to the the hero pattern. And this is what we're filtering for, and specifically called value fit. So we're basically filtering for value fit with cultural add. That's pretty much what we're looking for. Can we learn something from them? Basically hire someone that looks different than the people that we already have, right? But the filter would be the value fit and not the cultural fit. I think that's meaningful and kind of encapsulates that.
I like it very much. Just wrote it down. Sorry, I have to say it. Thank you.
No, it's a very good question. So thank you, Liam Barnett, whoever you are. Any other questions in the comment? There is a Q&A. I know we do have 3 questions that have come up here. Marina, there is a question that is directed at you. Have you seen that one?
Okay, I'm on it now. Hi, Marina. So you think using transgender characters in games helps society normalize the concept of diversity naturally? So I think that it provides a narrative about, so Rose mentioned this, Black Lives Matter for us in this room now means that there's a movement out there that marginalizes a complete group of human beings based on the color of their skin. And we probably in this room cannot understand that to the point that we have experienced having such fear and having such marginalization. So we might have been marginalized for different reasons, but for this reason in particular, we are to a certain extent privileged. And I, as a white woman, feel that way, for instance, when it comes to my race. But what I cannot understand is how the other person feels who might not have that privilege. So when we actually, in the world that we see around us, in the games that we play, in the content that we stream, the things that are presented to us, when we see stories of people whose lives we cannot live ever, we get to understand who they are and what problems they live with and how their reality looks like. And this helps us connect with them and empathize with them on a level that we otherwise could only either assume or just imagine. So this is why representation is important. This is why it's important to have not only transgender characters in games, but literally creating an opportunity for everyone to tell their story equally, right?
1,000,000% agree with you. Thank you for that answer. That was really good as well. There's another 2 questions in the Q&A, and I can see that, Jonathan, you've somehow acknowledged that you want to answer them. I don't know how you've done that. So please go ahead.
There was a button there. Actually, I hope it's okay. So there's one from an anonymous attendee, right? So the most marginalized among us know that the odds are against us, and that can put us off applying for jobs in the first place. Sometimes we had a poor experience, and that makes us more wary in the future. How do you build trust with the people you're trying to reach? I mean, that's a challenge, real challenge for us. And I think that it's not a single solution for that. It's actually quite a few steps, right? So number one, usually people from marginalized communities, there is to some extent there are whisper networks, right? Where people signal to other people, look, I worked, at company X, and they discriminate against people with disability, or there's no support, right? So usually when we share commonalities with other people, we tend to talk to each other, to know each other. So the moment things start to get fixed and start to work well, there is a mouth-to-mouth propagation, referral, and things like that works behind the scenes, right? This is one way where there could be a clear sign that things are getting better. The other one, definitely an event like this, right? When you see a manager from a company joining an event like this, and you see the kind of reasoning process that's happening there, if you are a part of those communities, you definitely look at the company with a different eye, right? Obviously, companies are big. Sometimes there's difference between departments or teams, but it's also a sign, right? Because otherwise, you would have to rely on the communication sent by the company, and unfortunately, one thing that bothers all of us, I believe, it's when there is this conversation around people should feel included, right? That for me is problematic. It signals something. People should not feel included. They should be included, and they should also feel included. The problem is when the communication is around trying to make someone have a perception, a feeling, when the truth is actually not there. Right? So that's why, whatever is written in the website could be awesome, could be amazing, superly well crafted. And politicians are usually very good at this, not all of them, as we know, but some of them. And people might feel included when they're actually excluded. So I get the challenge. It's hard to trust the communication that comes from the company, but seeing, so I would say whisper networks, second of all, events, and who is attending those events on behalf of the company. And also, naturally takes a while for the efforts to foster inclusiveness to take place, but usually you start to see after 6 months, after a year and a half, at a certain point you have to be reaping results, right? It should show in a way that it's progressing. So if the company is also willing to disclose that publicly, if there is some kind of data that's publicly shared about the diversity within the company, that's also a way to show, look, we're growing, this is how it progresses over time. And it has to be the outcome of proper policies and processes that protect the most vulnerable, right? I have to give credits here because I learned this from Kim Creighton, a Black woman that teaches how to address systemic issues, right? I'm highlighting the Black woman aspect here because it's a very common pattern for white people to take on the work of Black people without acknowledging the credit. So this is why I'm going to this extent.
Yeah, I want to second everything that Jonathan said here. I think it's a really, really good question, and it's very important to address this, because when we think about it, like I'm an LGBT woman, and for me, sometimes, you know, being part of the hiring process feels like coming out again. Like when I have to, you know, think about how I talk about having moved to Berlin, with whom I moved to Berlin. And I think that this fear, depending on which part of marginalized groups you belong to, this fear can be really real. But I think it's also important to be reminded that you are there to evaluate the company too during the interviewing process, and give yourself that liberty. Ask questions about everything that you see on the website, and if the company cannot provide you answers as to why they sponsor Pride, as to why they changed their logo to rainbow colors only in June, as to, you know, why they do charity events only once a year and post about it, and you never see their numbers online, you never see their promotion policies, you don't see their retention rates, what kind of talent is leaving, then be suspicious, right? But give yourself the opportunity to you know, be brave and be courageous, but stand up for yourself and really ask the important questions, and then based off of the answer of the company, make a decision.
And just maybe a final thought on that as well. I think to the anonymous user here, just reach out to people. Yeah, take all of your I wouldn't even say guts, but like take the bravery to really reach out to the people of this organization and really ask questions. Yeah, I think sometimes there's a great phenomena that you see with big tech companies. No one applies there anymore. They all reach out to their employees and then they refer them back. So actually, you know, they have a huge referral scheme ongoing, but it's not somebody that they ever had applied. So I think this is also very important, because I think the more and the higher you reach out to people there, if they say, hey, could you have a look into this application or into this person, because it seems like there is some potential here that I see, it gives you a much more boost of your skill set, and also people will take time, right? So I think that is something that I would also add on that, besides everything else that is said. It was really good.
Amazing. So I think we are over time, so let's move it on to the breakout rooms as well. Everyone that has joined in, I'd absolutely love for you to come to the breakout rooms. Any questions you have, or if you just want to ask questions, if you just want to meet the panel, meet me, joking, just have conversations, please come and join us. But thank you so much for sharing your morning, your afternoon, your evening, wherever you are in the world with us. The panel, you have been absolutely awesome, brought so much value. So I thank you so much as well. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, Jfrog, and of course, our audience as well. We are going to be announcing our next webinar very soon. And yep, as I said, if you want to join the discussion further, please come to the virtual networking. Lucy, my colleague, has put it in the comments box as well. It should be there right now as well. And as I said in the beginning, at Women in DevOps, we are really committed to the pursuit of ensuring diversity and inclusion and building a people-friendly planet, closing the employment gap and promoting equality as well. So thank you so much for coming and supporting us. We can support each other in the tech world and the wider workplace as well throughout this community. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well, and www.womendevops.com. You can find us everywhere. But yeah, let's head to the breakout rooms. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's go.